It's common sense, straightforward, and you don't have to touch a dime of the benefits.
There's a big problem with the promises that Republicans are making to their rural constituents in terms of not cutting Medicaid benefits, which is that the budget plan that they've passed makes that essentially impossible. Analysts believe that the only way Republicans can make the $880 billion in cuts that they're hoping to make, while technically keeping their promises to not cut benefits, is by shifting the costs of Medicaid to the states. While Republicans haven't revealed their explicit plans, there are a number of mechanisms they could use, all of which would essentially reduce the amount of federal funding that states receive for their Medicaid programs. States would either have to cut benefits or raise taxes to be able to maintain the same level of Medicaid benefits, or they would have to look for savings in other parts of their budget, like education. The idea behind this method of budget cutting is to allow congressional Republicans to continue to claim that they didn't cut benefits while simultaneously slashing Medicaid funding. Carrie Adelman is an SEIU member and a home care worker who relies on Medicaid. And she told me that, quote, people are terrified. They see the size of the cut that Republicans are hoping to make, and they're asking themselves, how could this not impact me in some way? She said that her family relies on Medicaid because her son was injured in an accident in 2015 and has been left unable to work. Without Medicaid, her family would not be able to pay for the basics of his care, like a wheelchair or access to a handicap-accessible van. Experts tell me that the impacted would include not only those who are directly on Medicaid, about half of which qualify based on age or disability, but also those people who rely on infrastructure that Medicaid supports, like community health centers or rural hospitals. Even the majority of Republican voters support maintaining Medicaid, with 67% of Republican voters who responded to a recent poll saying that they supported either maintaining or increasing Medicaid funding. A few Senate Republicans, particularly those from states who have expanded Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, are already starting to sense their constituents' anxiety. So far, however, there have not been enough Republicans to come out against this sort of plan to change its likelihood of passing in Congress, leaving the people who rely on Medicaid both vulnerable and facing uncertainty.